Welcome, everyone, to this Wednesday edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D Squared. You are listening to the Blitz Sports Radio, and we are the sister station for ESPN 97.7 The Zone. If you have not downloaded the app, please do so. Download the Blitz Sports Radio app so you can hear this show from 9 to 10 a.m. Each Monday through Friday. And don't forget our afternoon extravaganza with the Bandyman, Bailey Lowry, and Captain Cool John Abraham, the afternoon blitz from 2 to 4. We've been rolling strong since late July here on our streaming channel. We continue to grow it, so please keep supporting us and keep supporting our sister station, our hub channel, ESPN 97.7 The Zone, because it's going to be a lot of quality programming. Last night you heard the UAH Chargers on Super Tuesday. They get a big win over Mississippi College, 77-60, led by the 17 points of Jack Costal and his 90-plus foot shot at the end of the first half to take the Chargers to a 41-29 lead. Daniel Saylor also making an into the shot clock three. So it was UAH's night last night. They're trying to, of course, defend their Gulf South Conference Tournament championship. They will be in the semifinals at the Hannah Center against West Georgia on Saturday. They're already the Gulf South Conference regular season champions. They will most certainly be at Nova Southeastern for the regional tournament and the NCAA tournament, but they're trying to cement a number 2 seed overall. So John Schulman and the Chargers keep it rolling, and you'll be able to hear Alabama basketball tonight on 97.7 The Zone. Huge game, the Iron Bowl of basketball, Chapter 2. Alabama taking on Bruce Pearl's Auburn Tigers. Alabama with a lot at stake, trying to be the number 1 overall national seed in the NCAA tournament, get a 1 seed for the first time in program history, and win an SEC outright conference championship in the regular season for the second time in 3 years under Nate Oates, and cement the number 1 overall seed for the SEC tournament in Nashville. Bruce Pearl's team also with a lot to play for. They need to get a win in the final 2 games to cement a bid into the NCAA tournament. The SEC, I think they feel really good about getting 6 teams into the dance, but they could set a conference record and get 8 in, and of course that will depend on how the Auburn Tigers finish as far as Bruce Pearl, if they can get 1 more win in the regular season before going to Nashville. If not, they're going to have to do some damage in Nashville. And then, of course, as we've said, Missouri, but Dennis Gates' squad seems to have, been able to stabilize themselves. I think they're comfortably in, but Mississippi State, they got a huge win under Chris Jans last night, 74-68 against South Carolina. They have done a great job. They are going to have a chance to get in now. They go to Vanderbilt at the end of the regular season. If they can get this game on Saturday, I think they're in before they go to Nashville, because they would have gone from 1-7 in the league to 9-9 and really improved their seeding. But they're 8-9 right now. Arkansas is 8-9, but I think their schedule strength will still get the Hogs in. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens down the stretch in these last few days in the SEC. But the SEC with a shot to get a conference record 8 teams into the NCAA tournament. And Nate Oates, the Alabama basketball coach, he met the media yesterday, and we wanted to bring you some of that here to start off of this Recruiting Blitz show on this Wednesday.
Excited to have our last home game. It's great. It's coming against in-state rival like Auburn. The rivalry's gotten a lot better since I've got here. Bruce made the comment to me a couple years ago, now this game's a game that's played on a national stage. These games have always meant a lot for the state of Alabama, but they're now got national meaning. I think that's the case here. We've got a chance to win our second outright SEC championship in the last 3 years, which is a big deal. We'd like to win it outright. We can clinch it outright with a win tomorrow. So that's what we're trying to get to now. Focus on the game. Auburn played us pretty tough there. I think they've got some guys playing better basketball. Katie Johnson's been shooting it a lot better. Wendell Green gave us problems. Jalen Williams gave us problems. We've got a lot of basketball. Certainly not a foregone conclusion that we're going to clinch this thing outright. We've got to play a great game. We maybe haven't played our best basketball. We didn't close the game great Saturday, but I think our guys are locked in. We've had a good couple days of practice, and we're looking forward to our last home game here tomorrow night.
Yeah, 2 if I can. One with the pregame intro. How was that handled in kind of the recent days, and maybe any punishment handled there, but also just a game question too. I mean, Wendell Green, what do you guys need to do better against him this game?
Let me take the first one first. I'm glad you actually asked that question. That situation's on me. We addressed as a team. As soon as I brought it up to them, they immediately understood how it could be interpreted, and we all felt awful about it. They explained to me that it's like when TSA checks you before you get on a plane, and now Brandon's cleared for takeoff. We, as the adults in the room, should have been more sensitive to how it could have been interpreted. And I dropped the ball. That's it. I dropped the ball on it. We've addressed it. I can assure you it won't happen again. As far as the second question with Wendell Green, you know, he's great at drawing fouls when he takes threes. You know, he's kind of kicks the leg out. He's got everything going. We fouled him taking threes too much. We let him get threes off. He's quick. He's great at getting his shot off. You know, we tried all kinds of different guys. We didn't do a very good job. I mean, we had smaller, quicker guys on him to stay in front of him, put some bigger guys on him. Honestly, the guy that probably did the best job was Rylan Griffin, freshman, at the end. So we kind of challenged some of our smaller guards. We got to do better. We've discussed maybe putting more length on him, but he's a really good player. Teams have, you know, great game plans to stop really good players, and they still get buckets. And I said this before. I mean, I spent 11 years in Detroit. Wendell's from Detroit. I saw some really good guards like him, and he's one of the best. And I got a ton of respect for him. But we've got to do a better job on him second time around.
When you guys won the SEC 2 years ago, it was on the road. It was a COVID season, so not a lot of people there. Would it be a little sweeter to do that on your home floor in front of a packed crowd in a rivalry game? Have you talked about that with the guys?
Yeah, it would be a lot sweeter than it was at Mississippi State. I mean, it was great 2 years ago, but the last home game of the season in front of a raucous crowd, I mean, it's Auburn. It'd be much better to do it. Now, like I said, we're not assuming that's going to happen. We've got to take care of business. So but yeah, I mean, we plan on having this place sold out. It's been sold out for a long time, so it'll be a lot better than on the road at Mississippi State. But that brings up some special memories, though, because I do remember when we got back. I don't know if you remember when we pulled in. And I got a great picture with Fluff that night. You know, he kind of rounded everybody up to make sure they greeted us coming in. But so there's got some special memories back then. But we've also got, you know, it'd be great to do it in front of a home crowd with everybody there. So I think the more, and that's kind of for you guys to talk about, and it brings up some great memories for me 2 years ago. The more our players start thinking about that stuff, the less they're focused on the game. And I think we've been pretty good at focusing on the game. So we've discussed it a tad. Didn't really get into it much. We more discussed what do we have to do to win the game, and stopping Wendell Green and Jalen Williams and Katie Johnson, Flanagan. That's got a lot more to do with it. Once we take care of that, if you know we're fortunate enough to do so, we'll worry about how nice it is to win it at home if we're fortunate enough to do that.
When you get to this point of the season, we all assume the mental approach kind of changes a little bit when you get to the postseason. How does it change from your point of view? Do you have to do much with these guys, and are you kind of already there?
Look, I think, you know, college basketball gets to be a long season, especially now. I mean, you can start. I mean, we had our guys on campus the last week of May. You know, summer school starts. We had a summer tour, so I think there's, you know, an art to making sure that they're peaking in March. And shoot, it's definitely not a science because I try to get them to peak at March every year, and it doesn't happen that way all the time. So I think it's one of those we want to be really focused in, but we got to be smart with how much time we spend on the floor, how much their bodies are. But the whole mindset is, and I talked to them today, like we got to push to the finish. Like we can't endure practice. You know, we've got to, you guys, I mean, a lot of these guys have been playing basketball for 10, 12, 15 years. This is what they work for. Let's not waste all the time we put in the gym for the last however many years, even just since we got together the last week of May. We can't waste all these hours we put in by not being prepared to play now. I mean, we're in March. We want to peak in March. Tomorrow's game's going to be played first game in the month of March. So we're just pushing through to the finish, I think, mindset. You know, we've got sports psychologists that our guys meet with, and he's kind of been talking about some of that. But so, yeah, the mental part of it in March is as big as anything, keeping them mentally fresh, physically fresh, all that.
After the game, I talked to you about Brandon having his best 2 consecutive games. He doesn't get SEC Freshman of the Week. Do you have an opinion on that? And do you think the current situation is going to cost him season accolades?
It's a really good question. I mean, he obviously had a great week. You know, we're proud of the week he had. He's able to focus a lot. But I think, you know, the 2 guys that got the awards, Oscar had a great week too. I mean, and look, if you look, he's the reigning player of the year in the country. Kentucky had a dominating win, another strong win. You know, you kind of look to what the team does too. And we had 2 solid wins, but our team hasn't played as well as maybe it needed to. So, you know, and Nick Smith's coming off injury and played well, you know, Arkansas. So, I mean, look, here's the deal. In our league, in the SEC, they got to make tough decisions every week as to who gets it. So, and there was great players that got the award. Brandon's had a good week. I'm sure he'll get awards moving forward. We'll address that as it comes up. But no, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, the second part of your question, to be honest with you.
Nate, you guys are 5-0 in one-score games this year. I think the number was 3-4 last year. Obviously, Brandon, some different roster, shot creators help with that. But did you change anything in your approach late, either be foul management, timeouts, or anything in those crucial moments?
It's a good question. So we've looked at since year one or 2 possession games. You're talking about 1 possession games. We've looked real strongly at what we have to do, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It helps to have really talented players when you're trying to win games in the last possession or 2. And it certainly helps to have Brandon, who's made it clear that he's got very strong mental game. You know, he's clutch. He makes free throws late in games. So I'm going to be honest, we haven't – every year we go through and talk about into-game situations, who do we want in, who's our closing team if we're up, who's our closing team if we're down. You know, this year it's been a little bit more who's playing best, what the matchups are. You know, we've talked about, you know, we've got an analytics company that helps us. I got their whole report right here, and some of that's, you know, like we're trying to figure out what are the best matchups that we can get and then see how the game goes. And we've been fortunate enough for things to drop our way this year in those 5 games. I haven't looked at what our record was in 1 or 2 possession games, but when we won it the second year, we basically flipped what it was in the first year. And I think if you're going to win championships, you got to be able to close games late. And you go back early in the year in North Carolina, we had 4 overtime game. I mean, we had to get that thing to overtime. Our guys made some big plays, and no, we haven't made any strategic major changes other than we do definitely talk about lineups that we need to have in at the end of games based on up, down, and whatever. So.
Yeah, Quinterly was played really well last game. Jaden Bradley didn't get as many minutes. You kind of talked about the guard play. It kind of depends on how teams are playing them. The first time against Auburn, Jaden Bradley played a really good game, and Quinterly really didn't. You know, are you anticipating any kind of who's going to play more on Wednesday night and everything like that?
I mean, kind of like the previous question, so who's playing well at the time. I thought, there's different matchups where different guys play better. Jaden's been really, really good for us, all year. He's been our starting point guard. He guards, he's tough, he's physical, takes care of the ball, makes a ton of winning plays. But just with the way they were guarding him, and they had bigger guards with size, we thought Quinterly could get by him, which he did. If you look at our second half splits with Quinterly in the game, he got downhill to the rim. Now, Auburn doesn't have as big a guards. Jaden's bigger, stronger than some of the guards that they'll put out. I don't know how Auburn's going to match up because, most teams aren't game planning just to stop Jaden Bradley. We've got Brandon Miller, who's really good, Mark Sears, who's can score it in bunches. We've got different guys, even Clowney and Charles. But, so if they choose to put their best matchup for Jaden on Jaden, then I don't know how that affects some of the other matchups. So we'll see how things come out. But Jaden had a great practice today. Javon had a great practice. Quinterly's definitely got his game going again. Like I'd been saying that for a couple weeks in practice. Sometimes you have to see it, and I've said this a lot as a basketball coach. You see it in individual workouts first, then you see it in 5-on-5 situations in practice, then you start to see it in the games. We've been seeing it in practice for Javon for a few weeks. We're now starting to see what you guys are all starting to see what we've been seeing in practice in the games. So Javon's done this before. 2 years ago, he got it rolling for the SEC tournament. He was tournament MVP. I feel like he's getting it rolling again. So he's a really talented player that's got all his confidence back, and he's playing great. Jaden Bradley's a really good player, and you can play the two of them together. Jaden makes his teammates better. Javon can make shots. You can play Javon off the ball. He did a lot of that 2 years ago when we essentially started Herb Jones at the point. So if they're both playing great, we play them together. Like that's the good thing about our matchups. You put the two of them together with, 6'9", 6'10", 7 foot across the front court, you still got pretty good positional size on the floor. So I'm not sure how it'll play out. We'll wait and see who's playing well, how their matchups are, all that. But we're ready and willing to play whatever matchups, whatever lineups we need to play to get a win. And I'll say this about this crew. We've got if you guys knew this team, this is a really, really high character, closely knit, tight, great culture group of guys. When Jaden played great against Houston and Javon didn't hardly play in the second half, Javon was as happy as anybody on the team, told me we were going to get the win. It was great. When Jaden barely played in the second half against Arkansas, he told the coaches, you guys made the right decision. That's what we had to do. Like, these guys just want to get wins, and it's unbelievably refreshing to coach the group of guys that I'm coaching right now because they really just care about winning basketball games, and they care about each other. They're not concerned with their own personal agendas, which is sometimes very hard to get at this level. But I feel like we've got it. That's also why we're winning games at a pretty high level right now because Jaden Bradley wasn't his feelings, came into practice, had 2 great practices, and he's going to be ready to go tomorrow. So.
And that was Nate Oates. We wanted to bring you some of that, previewing this huge game tonight. It'll be at Coleman Coliseum, and as you said, we said at the start of the show on our sister station, ESPN 97.7 The Zone, you will be able to hear that game pregame, and the hour leading up to tip-off will start at 5 o'clock. There will be no drive tonight, and then it'll be Chris Stewart, Roger Hoover, and Brian Pasek getting you ready, and then Chris Stewart and Brian Pasek on the call live from Coleman Coliseum. Alabama going for another SEC regular season championship, the second in 3 years under Nate Oates, and looking to cement the #1 overall seed. Also, not in just the SEC tournament in Nashville, but continuing to be along that 1 seed line for the NCAA tournament. And Auburn playing for their postseason lives, trying to cement a bid to the NCAA tournament for Coach Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers. So it should be a great environment tonight over at Coleman Coliseum, and you will be able to hear it on ESPN 97.7 The Zone. But to talking about environments, though, we're about to go on break, but I wanted to say and give a shout out to some local squads that have done an outstanding job over in Birmingham at the Final Four. Once again, yesterday, it was quite a day for North Alabama. It was an outstanding one as we saw, several winners from our area continue to move on and secure berths into the state finals, and it was outstanding action. Now, we do have a game underway with a local flavor as McGill-Tulin's ladies are taking on the 5-time defending 6A champions from Hazel Green and Coach Tim Miller. They are trying to set a state record. Hazel Green up early really it's almost halftime though. These games go quickly. There's about a minute left in the half. It is a 15-6 low-scoring contest. 15-6 lead by 9 for the Hazel Green ladies over McGill-Tulane. And as we said earlier in the week, we've already had Covenant Christian advance to the 1A Boys State Championship game. That will be tomorrow. They will take on Oakwood Christian Academy. What a win for those two squads. Covenant Christian actually the 1A defending champions from the Florence area, but Oakwood Academy, the Mustangs, they will be in the state championship game for the first time in school history coming up on Thursday, the final game of the day. And also wanted to give a shout out to the ladies from Mars Hill. They are going to advance to the state championship game. They get a big win as well. And also yesterday you saw the Plainview boys under Robbie Coker. They are going for yet another state title. They impressively defeat Sumter Central 55-41, and Westminster Christian Academy under the great Ronnie Stapler, who's been on this show. Westminster 61-28 over Montgomery Catholic, and it really wasn't that close. They will take on Jacksonville, who knocked them out in the Sweet 16 at Jacksonville State last year. Jacksonville, the defending 4A champions, they defeat Hale County 82-46. So that is some of the action for the boys. And then there's going to be tomorrow is going to be an all North Alabama 1A girls final. Marion County taking on Spring Garden from the Gadsden area. And then, as we said, the Mars Hill ladies, they defeated Geneva County 70-50. They will be on Friday. They will be in the 2A girls final against Cold Spring, so that will be an all North Alabama final. The Clements Lady Colts win yesterday. They are going to the finals against a really good Trinity team out of Montgomery, who outlasted Susan Moore 53-47. And then some history for the Priceville ladies. The Priceville Lady Bulldogs, for the first time ever, they will go to the 4A state championship game, and they will be taking on defending 3A state champion who's moved up to 4A, Prattville Christian, who unfortunately for our area knocked out the New Hope Lady Indians, but a great run for Craig McGill and those ladies. But speaking of great runs, Jeremy Bynum, he was the head basketball coach of the Mae Jemison Jaguars last year. He took the job with the Dothan Wolves. They are going to be in the 7A Final Four tomorrow. That action will be starting at 9 a.m. But Dothan, I believe they take on the Hoover Bucks. That will be an outstanding matchup. They are going to take the floor tomorrow afternoon. And we're going to talk to Jeremy Bynum next when we come back here on this edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. Stay with us.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
Guys, when we were 20, we never had to worry about spontaneity. And now that we've gotten older, spontaneity has been replaced with pills and injections. We're just trying to keep that intimacy, but it's taken away from spontaneity. At Advanced Life Clinic, we now offer GainsWave, which uses sound waves to non-invasively treat this issue with no need for pills or injections. Just give us a call, 256-888-9367, or check us out online, advancedlifeclinic.com.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Hello, listeners. I want to tell you a little bit about Minuteman Press and what we have to offer our community. We specialize in paper printing and can help from designing your piece to the finished product. We print media guides for many of the athletic departments at high schools and universities around the area. We typically purchase sponsorships from these schools as well to try and help them with their fundraising. Once we have reached our new normal, we also print all types of marketing materials for you to hand out either in person, via mail, or at various trade shows and events. At Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
Look out in the street there. You know what you don't see? My car, because I had to sell it to pay the lawyer I hired when I got busted for drunk driving. You know what else you don't see? My girlfriend, who decided that a guy with no car and no license and no money was no fun. And hey, you know what else you don't see? You don't see me leaving for work in the morning, because I missed so much time with court and everything that I got fired.
Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I am D Squared, Drew DeArmond, and we are. It's my favorite time of the year, as I've said before. I mean, there's no question about it. This is basketball for this time of year in our state over at Birmingham. Such great action. We told you the update early. Near the end of the half, Hazel Green's ladies looking to win 6 straight state championships. Up 9 is they're looking to advance as they're doing a nice job under Tim Miller, already trying to advance to the state championship game. And we'll give you another update on that as we wrap up the Recruiting Blitz in about half an hour. We should know very well if Hazel Green's about to advance once again for the 6th straight year to the 6A finals. And one team that has already advanced to the Final Four, we're really looking forward to them taking the floor at 10:30 tomorrow morning. They will be taking on the Hoover Bucks, who have an extremely talented team. But this young man was a part of our community last year. His first year as a head basketball coach, took his team to Wallace State Hanceville in the Sweet 16 and with the Mae Jemison Jaguars, and really showed that he was one of the top young coaches in our state, and has now taken his team to the Final Four in only his first season as the 26-4 Dothan Wolves will take on Hoover. They were very impressive over at Garrett Coliseum in Montgomery in the Sweet 16 matchup, taking out the Mary Montgomery Vikings 50-32. And then, as everyone knows, LeBaron Philon and the Baker Hornets reached the Huntsville City Classic final, lost a very high-level game to the Sparkman Senators, who won it for the 2nd straight year. But this Dothan Wolves team, who's kind of been flying under the radar, and I think that's the way they like it, but they take out a very, very talented Baker team to reach the state Final Four, and they do it impressively. And so it was a very impressive win for them as they take out Baker 72-51. And we're going to talk to their head coach, who's been kind enough to come off the practice court and give us a few minutes to talk about his program, and that's Jeremy Bynum. Coach, first of all, congratulations on all your team has accomplished thus far at Dothan in year 1, but welcome back to Huntsville. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
The time to join us. We really appreciate that. I know you just had a great practice getting ready for this step to take on the Hoover Bucks. But I remember seeing you in Hoover last year at the showcase in June as you were at the NCAA showcase. You had your team over there. I know you lost a very high-profile young man in J.D. Palm who transferred to McEachern in Georgia, but I remember you saying that we're going to start over. I like that. I'm really liking the makeup of my squad, and certainly there's no question that you were able to mold this team into a great squad in year one. What's been the key for Dothan to be so good in your first season as coach?
Well, first of all, I give all the credit to the kids. You know, they coming in June, you know, they were hungry for a change. They kind of bought into my philosophy and coaching that we tried to build. So they made the transition kind of easy for me. But I think, you know, a big thing about our success is the type of kids we have. You know, we don't have kids who are selfish or by anything like that. And we play together and we just play hard.
There's no doubt about that, Coach. And just watching your style of coaching at Mae Jemison the year I got to see you guys, you're a very detail-oriented guy. You preach the defense on that end of the floor. And anytime you're as impressive as you were in a regional final in Garrett Coliseum against the Baker Hornets, who I saw up close this year, didn't get a chance to see Dothan, unfortunately, but got a chance to see Baker on multiple occasions. Very athletic, very skilled offensive team. What a defensive performance by your kids to hold them to 51 points.
Yeah, you know, we went into that game more scout-oriented. You know, we did a little couple things different than we normally would do, but we kind of took them out of rhythm. And, you know, a lot of people talk about how we guarded them, but I think the difference in the game was we limited them to one shot per possession. I think we dominated them on the board, and that allowed us to get out in transition and get some easy points.
It really did. I mean, you guys out-rebounded Baker 46-22. And as you're telling us here in kind of delving back into that game, was the rebounding and being able to dominate the glass one of the keys when you guys were going into the contest?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things we focus on every game. You know, going into tomorrow, you know, we understand we got to be who we are. We got to guard. We got to get rebounds. But especially against Baker, we felt like, and we can limit them to one shot per possession, we had a chance.
And you guys certainly did that, and they played at a very high level, no doubt. I mean, Mekhi Menifee, he was unbelievable. He ended up with 22 points for you and did a great job on the glass as well. Had 7 of those rebounds. Thomas Dowd did a great job running your team. He ends up with 26 points and 6 assists. I mean, this is a special group, and as you said, the biggest key is they're selfless and they play together. Coach, when did this team start hitting the stride? I mean, you got a great record. You guys are 26-4. Obviously, you've been a consistent team, but when did you start seeing special chemistry with this group?
Well, I can tell you a funny story behind that one. I think it was December the 9th. We go to Jeff Davis, and we lose by 2 or 3. I can't really remember.
Right.
Well, the next day, we travel right up from Montgomery to my hometown, Oxford, Alabama, and we play Huffman at 2 o'clock. So we played basically 2 games in less than 24 hours. And you can just tell we came out with a little energy, but we ran out of gas. And I remember after that game, I kind of held the guys in the locker room for quite a bit. You know, we had a little powwow, I would call it. And, once we got back to Dothan that night, we took the next day off. We came back in on Monday, and we went to work. And from that on, we won 13 games in a row.
Yeah, and that's special. Anytime you can rip off a run like that and then be playing your best basketball. I thought last year your team played really exceptionally well down the stretch at Mae Jemison, and I know you learned from one of the best in the business, and I remember talking to both of you before the game in the Huntsville City Classic. You had a chance to play against Joel Van Meter in Oxford, and you just talked about coming back there this year during your season at Dothan, but I know he meant a lot to you. You're, of course, an alum of Oxford. You played there, but I know Coach Van Meter has meant a lot to your career. I would imagine because I've always enjoyed watching his teams compete. They finished strong this year as well. Got a lot better once again after coming to the Classic. But is that where kind of your emphasis and your style of coaching and your emphasis on the defensive side of the court comes from? Is playing and coaching under a guy like that?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of things that I've got philosophy-wise comes straight from Coach Van Meter. You know, he's a phenomenal coach. I think he's very underrated in his state. But he always gets his guys to play hard. And we talk about all that. He's going to squeeze the lemon. You know, even the years that he may not be as talented, he's going to get the best out of that team, and they're going to always be competitive.
Yeah, they really are, and he's got a young squad, a lot of young talent now, and I think in the future they did win the Calhoun County Championship over a really good Jacksonville team, but they're going to be a force down the road, no question about it. And I know you've been boring over tape, and you guys have been preparing, but what are your initial thoughts on this matchup with Hoover? They got Dwayne Brown, they've got an outstanding guard in Salim London. They've been as good a 7A team as I've seen in person. I haven't seen your squad, and that's why I'm so looking forward to seeing them compete. But you guys are taking them on at 10:30. Your thoughts on the matchup with the Hoover Bucks?
Well, first of all, I think they are probably the most rounded team in the state. They're big, they're athletic, and they can shoot it. But I think we match up with them well, and we can continue to do what we've done all year long, and not let the moment be too big for us. You know, they got the big kid who's a force inside. You know, he's one of those kids. You got to look at him and say he's gonna get his. What can you do to everybody else to eliminate them from getting the easy ones?
No doubt. He's definitely an old school big. And Coach, you don't see too many of those. I mean, I know you remember Zondra Garrett at Oxford, but he could play inside now. Dwayne Brown, he basically is just a back to the basket old school. I've even started calling him Michael Ansley. He knows what he does. He doesn't try to do anything that he can't do. He doesn't try to step out and shoot threes. He doesn't play on the perimeter. He's an old school big, and they do a really good job of something else that's kind of a lost art Hoover does, and that's feed the post.
Yeah, they're probably the best post passing team I've saw in a long time. And, and kudos to Mr. Brown himself. He's one of the post players that, he knows how to turn his field. He knows when to duck in. And, he's not one of those guys who's itching to get outside. He knows where his money is, and he gets to his spot.
And with your squad, Coach, I mean, for those of us in North Alabama, we haven't been able to see your team this year. We certainly saw that you guys were gritty and hard-nosed your year, and you had a senior-oriented team at Mae Jemison. What is your style of play in the stamp that you've put on Dothan Wolves basketball so far?
Well, it's very similar to what we did at Mae Jemison. We're going to play hard. We're going to press. We're going to play up-tempo. I think the biggest difference is from last year to this year is my team down here in Dothan, we're a little more athletic. We're longer, so we're able to cover more space than we were last year. As far as offense, we're the same. We're trying to get up and down. We're going to shoot a bunch of threes, and we're going to attack the rim.
And then, Coach, I know the community has to be so excited and pumped up about getting to the Final Four. I mean, it's your first trip as a head coach. This is the elite level of high school basketball in our state. What's it been like around the community and the school, and for yourself, taking all this in as a young head coach, only in your second full year, getting to the pinnacle right now?
Well, the community support has been unbelievable. They gave us a send-off yesterday where they released the entire school to come out in the fields and ride out from the school. And that's special to these kids. They work all year long, and that moment means a lot to them. So we've been blessed to be in a situation where the community believes in basketball, they support us, and we're thankful for that.
They certainly are, and we talked a little bit about Mekhi Menifee and Thomas Dowd, but for our listeners, I mean, I know they were really key in the win over Baker, but obviously they're two of your leaders, but kind of talk about your squad as a whole and the guys, and I know you talked about how they bought into your style of coaching, but talk about some of these players individually and how they've played for you.
Well, of course everybody knows about, if you listen to Dothan, hear about Dothan, you know about Thomas and Mekhi, but I have two guards down here. One is a sophomore and one is a senior who's playing really good in big moments. You can look at a kid, Bryson Derrick, who's a sophomore, who I think is going to be a really, really good guard. One of those type guards that can play at the next level for sure. He's a downhill type guard, probably our best on-ball defender. And then you look at a kid like Raymond Blackman, who's a big-time football player. He's a senior. He starts at the point guard spot for us. And he's just, he's a gamer. He picks our team up whatever we need. If it's a rebound, if it's a big three or a big steal, he just fits those holes for us. And, the moment's never too big for him.
And I know, obviously, with your squad, you've already did a great job of containing, and you're not going to completely stop someone like LeBaron Philon, who's, I think, maybe the best individual player in our state, regardless of class, but you certainly did a good job containing him. We've already talked about the challenge of containing a different kind of player, a Dwayne Brown. There's also Salim London, though. As you said, you talked about the size and the physical ability and the athleticism of Hoover. But what's going to be some of the keys for your team at 10:30 tomorrow to having a chance to win this game and move on to have a chance to play for a 7A state title on Saturday?
Well, I think the biggest key is going to be this. We talked about this all year long. Don't live in the moment. You got to own the moment. That's my biggest concern. I don't want our guys to get in the gym tomorrow and, just be wild by the fan support, the gymnasium, and all that thing. We've talked about it for the last couple of days. It's another basketball game. You got to go play. And then you talk about just being able to game plan for Hoover. Again, the big kid is going to get his. I think you got to take away that three, and you got to limit them to one shot per possession. You can't turn the ball over. I think that's one thing they're underrated in, how they get out in transition. They're very good in transition. They move the ball. And you think about the last two games, they shot to cover off the ball.
Yes.
So you got to make sure you can find them in transition and make everything they shoot contested shots.
I was able to take in their game against Austin, who had not lost since the Huntsville City Classic. They dominated an Austin team at Hanceville. And then when you talk about them beating Vestavia, I wasn't able to watch it, but I was following it. They shoot, 10 of 19 from three. So as you said, Coach, with a big like Brown, if they shoot 10 of 19, they're nearly unbeatable. You've got to take something away. And obviously, as you said, doing a good job defending the three is going to be a key for you, no question about it. But obviously, the future of Dothan Wolves basketball is very bright still. But what's, I guess, for this group, you kind of said the turning point was when you guys made that trip to Oxford. You lost a couple in a row, but then ripped off 13 in a row. What's been the most special thing, though, about this team and this journey now to having a chance to play for a state title?
Well, this is the first year I've been a part of a team where, we've faced so much adversity, and not outside of basketball, more so just during games. We've had a spell where we start games off really well and finish bad, but we're still able to win the game. Then we've had spells where we start games off real slow and, we come back and win the game. So, for us, I think the turning point is our guys never feel like they're out of the game. They've been in all situations. They've won the games they're supposed to win, and they've won the games they're not supposed to win. So we believe, and I know one thing I can say about these guys, they're going to come in tomorrow and they're going to fight for 32 minutes.
I have no doubt about that, and I truly enjoyed watching your year at Mae Jemison and following from afar. Just brought a smile to my face, and the success you've had at Dothan, tremendous. I think you're one of the best young coaches in the state. We certainly miss you here, but we certainly are thankful that you were a part of our community, and we're thankful for what you're doing over there at Dothan for the state of Alabama in basketball. But we thank you for joining us. I know it's a busy time for you. You guys are still preparing for Hoover and just got off the practice floor, but thank you for taking a few minutes to talk some Dothan Wolves, and we certainly look forward to watching your squad compete tomorrow, Coach. Thank you.
All right, thanks for having me.
That is Jeremy Bynum giving us some time. We're going to go on a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. Say that 3 times fast. I'm D Squared. Stay with us.
The Blitz has been called.
The Stretch Zone, with 2 locations in the Tennessee Valley, will get you ready for whatever spring activities you have planned, from golf to tennis or just to increase your general activity. The Stretch Zone can get you limbered up to feel your best. Plus, you'll be taught the best stretches that you can do on your own in between visits to one of our 2 locations in Hampton Cove in Huntsville or on Balch Road in Madison. Visit StretchZone.com for more information. That's StretchZone.com and be the best of you. Learn more at StretchZone.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seed, managing partner of University Kia, letting you know we are proud supporters of Crimson Tide football. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com for all our great offers. And get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today. Because we want to see you in a Kia. Roll Tide!
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
In 1982, Bob Baumhauer introduced Alabama to the Buffalo Wild Wing, and quite frankly, we've never been the same. Back then, it was Wings and Things in Tuscaloosa, but now, 40 years later, after 4 name changes, Baumhauer's Victory Grill is the #1 sports-themed restaurant in the state. Bob's Alabama Hot Chicken is something that has to be tried to believe, plus the new Bam Bam Chicken and the Louisiana-style Go Fish, a whitefish over rice topped with shrimp etouffee. And Baumhauer's is fighting inflation with some new affordable favorites. Visit Baumhauer's on the South Parkway today.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D Squared, and again, do not miss it later today, the afternoon Blitz with the Bandyman, Bailey Lowry, Captain Cool, John Abraham, and of course, I'm D Squared, Rudy Armour. You can listen to this show from 9 to 10 a.m. each Monday through Friday, the afternoon Blitz from 2 to 4. Don't forget to download our Blitz Sports Radio app, and it is the Iron Bowl of basketball. We will be there tonight at Coleman Coliseum. We brought you Nate Oates, and I wanted to bring you a little bit of Bruce Pearl as well, as this is a huge game for Auburn as they're trying to cement an NCAA tournament berth.
Weekend of SEC play, anywhere between 3rd and 7th is what looks likely. But obviously we got 2 monster opponents in front of us. Alabama just beating people by 26 at home on average is an astounding figure. They're one of a handful of undefeated teams at home. They play great at home. They play great at home. They shoot it great at home. They just play with great energy, and obviously the game will be, for an opportunity for them to win the outright championship in the SEC. So we did a lot of good things the first time we played them, and gave ourselves a chance. We're going to have to be really, really on our game, really physical, handle their energy, and but it's a great opportunity for us because as I look at it, we'll winning one of these next 2 games puts us in position where we'd be a lock to make the tournament. And I just know I've been in situations in other years where there's nothing left on the schedule to really get you over the hump that really can get you in. And then you have to hope that somebody else loses. Well, we don't have that situation. We are still in control of our own destiny. So.
Questions?
Bruce, what do you think you guys did so well the first time to kind of keep Miller out of the action for a good portion of that game, and do you think you can replicate some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, Al and Jalen, Chris, Lior, those guys had him most of the time. I thought they did a good job you got to stay pressed on upon him, because if he's got space, time and space, he can, he's such a great shooter. And so I thought those guys did a really good job with that. And we try to, we'll definitely try to duplicate what we did the first time. He's playing great right now. I mean, that's probably, from a standpoint of just his scoring, one of his lower outputs of the year.
All right. Bruce, how's the team kind of responded after the loss and just the second half win against Kentucky, and how'd they come out kind of yesterday?
I think that we've had a ton of Saturday losses here down the stretch. Sort of, you don't mind me looking down, kind of dating back to West Virginia. So West Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. So we lost 5 straight Saturdays, and that just that wears on you. I would say that this was the most discouraged that we've been, because we were just so outplayed and outperformed and overwhelmed at Kentucky in the second half. And of course, Alabama's been doing that to everybody. We had try to keep things as normal as possible as far as our practice is concerned. And we really want to take advantage of the body of our work. This team has worked really, really hard to maintain its position and to continue to be have a chance to compete for third place still, or be in position to make the tournament based on the body of our work. And you just would hate to see it go away at the end just because the schedule was so overwhelming and we weren't up to the task.
That was Bruce Pearl. We wanted to bring you a little bit of that, and that will be a huge part of the game on the airwaves tonight on 97.7 The Zone. Auburn trying to compete, trying to slow down Brandon Miller, trying to get more out of Jonai Broome, who was contained by Alabama the last time, but Wendell Green was tremendous. He kept Auburn in the lead for the majority of that game, really for nearly 30 minutes. Alabama started asserting itself the final half of half number 2 down the stretch and pulled away. Riley and Griffin making a bunch of big plays, but really for 32 minutes, Auburn controlled the game. Wendell Green was tremendous. Jalen Williams had a great first half. Certainly, K.D. Johnson made some big shots, and they're going to need more of that tonight in order to beat Alabama. They're going to have to take care of the basketball, Auburn is. They're going to have to shoot the 3 better than they have lately. And then Jonai Broome is going to have to be a factor inside for the Auburn Tigers, and they're going to have to hang in on the glass against Alabama. That's going to be a huge part of the game, though. Wanted to bring you some reaction from both coaches as we preview that Iron Bowl of basketball tonight. Thank you to Jeremy Bynum, and we'll continue to give you some and follow the Final 48 over in Montgomery. No question about that, as that is going to continue to be a big part of the conversation. And continue to stay with us as the Hazel Green Lady Trojans looking to march on to the state championship game in 6A. We'll have those results for you as well. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody, and don't forget the afternoon blitz later from 2 to 4. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everyone.